أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم ينفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ينفعنا وزد علما الكريم يا رب العالمين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all of you for being here this morning in Ramadan. I know it's hard to wake up, so we could talk about changing the time. See, maybe an hour later might be better. 11:30 to 1, but we'll see inshallah if that's agreed. We'll talk about that at the end of the class. So alhamdulillah, we're in this great month of Ramadan, and one of the best things is to study the Quran during this month. One thing from the hadith that we took from that first session in the Ramadan prep course was that we talked about Jibreel alayhi salam used to come and meet the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam every night in the month of Ramadan. And then we said that what he used to do with them, yudarisuhu al-Quran, that he used to study with him the Quran, from the word darasa, right? And so therefore it wasn't just reading. So therefore this month maybe we should take some time and hopefully inshallah ta'ala study the Quran in detail in an analytic case or a way, if you will. Really just derive the meaning of the words. And so we've been going over the Tafsir of Surah Rahman, chapter number 55 in the Quran. Surah Rahman is a surah that it's kind of popular amongst people for multiple reasons, and we'll go into that a little bit here. And so inshallah ta'ala we'll be covering at least, we'll see up to maybe 7 verses today, if not a little bit more, depending on how far we get. And inshallah ta'ala we'll be continuing next week and the week after that. So just go over it really quick, like Surah Rahman, like you all know there's something that's a surah that everyone kind of mentioned, always likes to recite. So why is that? Why do people love Surah Rahman so much? They love to play it in their car, or at least have it on their wall in their house. A lot of it, honestly, there's a hadith that's kind of weak that says that Surah Rahman is the bride of the Quran. Bride meaning that it's the honor of the Quran, right? It's the most decorated of the Quran. Arus al-Quran. The word arus in Arabic usually said to a bride because she's decorated on that day, right, with clothing and so forth. There's a hadith that Surah Rahman is the arus of the Quran, or the one that's most decorated, or people do the literal translation or the metaphorical translation of being the bride of the Quran. Right? And one thing, obviously, we know that it sounds really nice, it's really beautiful in terms of its melody and so forth. And it has one verse in it that's repeated 31 times, and that's فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which is the title of the course we're doing here, which are the favors of your Lord that you deny. And it talks a lot about, obviously, the bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. So that is something maybe that people love so much, but and obviously the way that it sounds is really the reason why people have the connection to Surah Rahman. Obviously because it talks about Allah's mercy and so forth. So let's go to a couple of things inshallah ta'ala we're going to go over today. Number one is, why is it called Surah Rahman? Right? I think that might be an obvious answer. Well, there's a couple of obvious answers. So there's a really interesting hadith that's going to bring up a lot of other tangents to our discussion, where it's mentioned that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this hadith in Tirmidhi that Jabir radiallahu anhu mentioned that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out one day to his companions, to the Sahaba, right, and he recited to them Surah Rahman, okay, and from its beginning to its end, and they were silent. So let's stop right there. So from that sentence there, do you pick up something, and how do you know in terms of the name of the surah? Something really obvious. You see that what the Sahaba, Jabir is calling what? It's calling the Surah Rahman, right? So that's showing proof that amongst the Sahaba they knew that was the name of the surah. There's one thing we didn't get to cover last week in terms of the Ulum al-Quran class, in terms of the sciences of the Quran, is that how do surahs get their name? So there's a couple things. Number one is that the Prophet ﷺ told them that this is the name. Number two is from the beginning of the surah, Ar-Rahman, right? You see some hadith that the Prophet ﷺ will refer to Surah Ikhlas, Qul Huwallahu Ahad, as you guys should read Qul Huwallahu Ahad, and then read Qul A'udhu bin Rabbil Falaq, Qul A'udhu bin Nas. So the Prophet ﷺ would actually refer to surahs as from the beginning of that surah. Surah Yasin, it starts with Yasin, for example, right? But then you have Surah Baqarah, right? Which all you guys are getting, hopefully, my videos from the summary of Surah Baqarah, right? The cow. So why is Surah Baqarah called Surah Baqarah for? Even though it starts off with Alif Lam Mim, right? So it's not called Surah Alif Lam Mim. Of course, there's multiple surahs of Alif Lam Mim, so that's another issue, right? So why is it called Surah Baqarah for?
Because the subject is covered.
Because of the subject that's mentioned in it. And that is, there was multiple subjects mentioned in it. So it's like a unique subject that's mentioned in it, right? And so you see sometimes that works, like Surah Kahf, talk about the people of the cave, right? Surah Bani Israel, right? The children of chapter number 17, Surah Isra, is also mentioned as the name of Surah Israel, Bani Israel. So there's different names have sort of got their name because of either of the content of what is talked about, or because the Prophet ﷺ mentioned that, or because of the beginning of the surah, right? One thing is known that the Prophet ﷺ named all the surahs, and they knew that. Later on, people called it other names because of the Sahaba gave it to it, or became famous because of that. So there's multiple reasons. So here in this hadith here, it's mentioned that the Prophet, the Sahaba said the Prophet ﷺ recited Surah Al-Rahman, right? And let's continue the hadith, even though it's going to bring up a lot of other tangible type issues, where it says that the Prophet recited Surah Rahman from its beginning to its end for them, and they were silent. The Sahaba were silent. They didn't say anything. So the Prophet ﷺ said, I recited to the jinns on the night of the jinn, called Laylatul Jinn, on the night of the jinns, and they had a better response to it than you did. Each time I came to the saying, فَبِأَيِّ عَلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ, which are the favors of your Lord you deny? The jinn will answer, we don't deny any of your favors, O our Lord. Yours, and to yours is the praise, basically, and to you is all praise, if you will. So there's a couple things here. So the Prophet ﷺ, so they're talking about here, the Prophet ﷺ recited to the jinns on the night of the jinn. So what is it? First of all, this is an occasion called the night of the jinn. What is the night of the jinn? It's a night where the jinn came to the Prophet ﷺ. I know it's very kind of spooky and so forth, but the jinn came to the Prophet ﷺ and asked him, can you recite to us or reveal to us something from the Quran? And so the Prophet ﷺ went out and met the jinn out in the desert area, and he was with them and he recited Surah Rahman to them. And then the Sahaba didn't know where the Prophet ﷺ was, I should say. And so they started getting panicked. They started panicking. They thought the Prophet was killed, or he was taken, or something happened to them. So they were going crazy all around the city trying to find the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ finally comes back and said, where were you? He said, I met a group of jinn and I recited Surah Rahman to them. And one thing we said that the Prophet ﷺ was a prophet to all of mankind. That's mankind and jinn, and if there's anyone else out there, but we only know that these two type of beings, if you will. So that's pretty much it in terms of that story. The jinn, we know that obviously, like we mentioned, not going too much of a tangent, that they are around us. The surah is going to talk about the jinn a lot. That they are around us, they can be sitting right now benefiting from this lecture, inshallah ta'ala. There's Muslim jinns, there are non-Muslim jinns, there are wicked ones and so forth. And we kind of went over this in terms of when we went over the shayateen are locked up in the month of Ramadan. We mentioned that before. So inshallah ta'ala, you benefit from that. So the one way the Sahaba called it Surah Rahman, and because it starts with the word Ar-Rahman, obviously. So that's one way why the surah got its name from. Next thing that we have is, why was it revealed and why? And where was it revealed and why? So anytime you look at a surah in terms of tafsir wise, explanation wise, you want to know where was it revealed and why was it revealed? Like what happened, right? Why did that surah come down? Was there a war? Was there something that someone asked a question? So these type of things you want to look into. So number one, in the majority of the scholars are of the opinion that this is a Mecca surah. It was revealed in Mecca. Now since you guys are all scholarly people and you guys came to the lecture last week, can someone remind me, what are the characteristics of a Mecca surah? I know we're fasting, but it's okay. You can do it. I believe you can do it.
Like less of rulings and more of like punishment, be thankful.
Talks more about Allah.
Talks more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's less rulings. It talks more about thankfulness or about what else you say, sorry?
It's a punishment.
The hereafter.
Punishment? Oh, about the hereafter then. Okay, very good. Anyone else?
And when it was revealed earlier or later.
Earlier or later, right?
Shorter ayat.
Shorter ayat, very good, right? And Surah Rahman fits the bill for all these things, right? Ar-Rahman, one word, one verse. Alim al-Quran, done, right? Khalaq al-Insan, right? It's like very short. Why is it short like that for? Why are the surahs in Mecca more melodious, right? More rhythmic? Why is it shorter for? Why would you think that?
So trying to think of the people.
Try the text of it. So there wasn't people in Medina?
Yeah. And so that they could like reflect on each other more, and I think to reflect more on Allah. Like,
Okay,
versus
let's
just short but powerful point.
Short and powerful points, right? But someone could argue that that's always needed though, but okay, good. Anyone else?
I think for the Iman, the Iman is a little, was like the Iman is a little more stable and they need more about like their Islam, not being Islam, so then the ruling will work on them. And then the Mecca is more like, I need to know that Islam is the right religion.
Okay, good. But in terms of why were the verses short for? Just on that point. That's a point, maybe another point that you make, that they need to talk about Imaniyat, heaven and hell, because the people need to solidify their Iman. That's good. But in terms of why is it short for, the verses?
I was watching a lecture where what you think was saying that they were short, so that way it can kind of get stuck in your head and it's hard to forget and it's hard to even not listen to. So even if you were a non-believer or you were trying to refuse the message, by the time you put your hands up to your ear, you already heard it, and that was good.
That's good. That's an awesome point. Very good, right? So it talks about that. They're shorter, easier for people to remember, people to hear it. Also, why is it more rhythmic for? Because obviously the Quran at the beginning, not just at the beginning, but the whole entire time came as a challenge to what?
Poetry.
To the poets, right? So it has to be a little bit more rhythmic, right? For example, a really bad example, but I'm going to do it anyhow. So if someone comes and raps over here, there's a big, like some type of rap, and he's rhyming everything, right? Ramadan, it's like, I don't know, I can't even rhyme. But anyhow, right? And then so someone, if you're going to counteract that, you're going to have to be really rhythmic, if you will, right? And so that's why you see other surahs that are longer, Surah Baqarah, Surah Nisa, Surah Ma'idah, etc. There's more detail, it's not really as rhyming, if you will, right? So that's one of the things that why it was more shorter in its form and more rhythmic. And that's how you could tell that it's Meccan. So some of the scholars knew that was a Meccan surah because why? It was revealed. They had a hadith where they said, I was with the Prophet and Surah Rahman came down when we were in Mecca in year 5, if you will. But sometimes we don't have a hadith for every single surah like that. So they have to look at the ayat and see like, this looks like a Meccan surah because it's short, it's rhythmic, blah, 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 doesn't have much rulings. So that's how they do that. So here we don't necessarily have a hadith that said it was in Mecca, but just because of its what? Of its nature, they know it's Meccan, if you will. Okay, and then it's also mentioned that the purpose of its revelation is that the mushrikeen, those who associate partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wanted to know who is Ar-Rahman. Now this is a name that was foreign to them. They knew about Allah, they actually knew the name Allah, even though they called their gods other names, but they never heard the word Rahman before, so they thought that was a really foreign God. So they wanted to know who is this Rahman. And so they did, so what they wanted, so there's a verse that was in sort of Furqan, I have it up there on the screen for you, verse number 60, where it says, and when it said to them, prostrate, make sujood, to the most merciful, to Ar-Rahman. And they say, and what is the most merciful? Who is the most merciful? Who's Ar-Rahman? We prostrate to which you order us to anyone you order us to? That doesn't make any sense to us. So then this surah came down, explained to who Ar-Rahman is. You understand how that works? That's where they say that's one of the reasons why the surah was revealed. Another reason why it was mentioned, why it was revealed, I leave that on the board there, it's talked about already. It was mentioned that in Surah Nahl, chapter 16, verse 103, is mentioned that the mushrikeen, or those who are polytheists in Mecca, were accusing the Prophet ﷺ that you're making up these words, or someone taught you this. Either the Christian monk or someone who taught you this, and that's how you got to know this. It wasn't because God is teaching you, but someone privately is teaching you. So then you have the next, in Surah Nahl, verse number 16, chapter number 16, verse number 3, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that it's not a person that teaches the Prophet ﷺ these words, it's Allah. And then this surah came down to answer that or explain a little bit more to it. So I'm going to move over to the next slide. I know you guys are working hard to write that stuff down. So here it says, it's also mentioned that the surah was revealed answering continuing in the verse in Surah Nahl where it was mentioned that the mushrikeen said what? The Prophet was taught the Quran by a person, and Allah mentions that we know indeed that what they say, that a man teaches him the tongue of him as a wicked point into the notable foreign. This is a Arabic pure Quran. Saying that it's not a person that teaches the Quran, but this is the Arabic Quran in your language. It's not a foreign person teaching you it, or that language would be different. So this surah came down to rebuke them and teach them that no, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that's teaching them the Quran. Introduction to the surah. So let me go a little bit about a synopsis of the surah, and then we'll go down verse by verse, inshallah. So the surah first talks about, number one, it's describing this world and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put His grace upon it. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created this world, He created trees, rivers, plants, date palms, and so forth. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala starts off the surah with this notion. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala moves on to the next subject, where He talks about His greatest creation, the Quran, and talks about human beings, how He created human beings from clay and how it was formed and so forth, and how a human being came into form. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala focuses on that afterwards. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turns His attention to the hereafter, the hellfire, the description of Jahannam, the description of paradise, where there's going to be rivers in it, there's going to be gardens in there, there's going to be spouses for you in there, etc. It goes into much detail. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ends the surah talking about His greatness, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all praises are due to Him, that He has ordained or He has created all these different things. So this is kind of like a step-by-step synopsis of what the surah contains, and then what we're about to be going over, inshallah ta'ala. Let's go on to the next verse. Bismillah. Okay, so let's go over the first verse that we have. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ar-Rahman. Okay, the first ayah of this surah is Ar-Rahman. Another little side note, if anybody, this is Ramadan, so people want to strive a little bit more, right? So if any of you want to try to memorize Surah Rahman, I will work with you, and we could stay afterwards, and I could hear you recite and see how your memorization is, and we'll work with you, and then hopefully by the end we go over this. I don't think we're going to finish in three classes or 4 classes, but we might. Then inshallah, it's 78 verses. Okay, that seems like a lot, but there's 31 verses that are repeated. So you get if you just memorize that one verse, you have 31 times, alhamdulillah. You just have to get the order down when it comes. That's the only tricky part, right? So inshallah, it's not too bad. So it ends up being like 40-something verses that you have to recite. Memorize, I should say. So if anyone wants to do that, I think it's something may Allah make it easy for you, and inshallah, we could do that after the class. I'll sit down and I'll listen to you. So the first ayah that we have is Ar-Rahman. So there's a couple things that we have to talk about here. Number one is, what is Rahman? So anytime we start something, we say what? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So first of all, what does Rahman mean? And what is the difference between Rahman and Rahim? Anyone know the difference between the two without looking at the screen?
Well, I don't know, one of the opinions is that Ar-Rahman is for this world, and Ar-Rahim is a special type of mercy for the believers.
Good, awesome, right? So one thing is that Ar-Rahman is for, in general, or for the next world, in terms of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rahim is for this world and for His servants. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Huwa Ra'ufu Rahim. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Rahim to ibadihi. Right? There's a couple of verses in the Quran, or maybe I'm mixing with the words here. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He's Rahim to His servants. So it means that what Rahim is a special mercy for His servants that He gives. Ar-Rahman means the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? The essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that He's merciful. But then when His actions, when He carries out His actions and mercy through His actions, then that's called Rahim. It's a small difference, very small syntax meaning there between the difference of the two. Right? So that's why we say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. When we're doing this, you're starting to eat or you're starting to drink with the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rahman, right? And Rahim, because the mercy that Allah gave you that drink, or gave you that car, or gave you whatever you did. So it's kind of a reminder that through Allah's mercy, He gave you that food. Through our mercy, He's giving you whatever it may be, starting your car, or whatever the case may be. Okay. So here we say that Rahman is connected to the essence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number two, Rahim is connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's action to His servants. In terms of those who study Arabic, I'll just give you a small Arabic point here. Everyone knows the word Rahman, right? And so here, this word is the word Rahma, but there's an alif, lam that's added to the end of it. And anytime you have a word that's added with the alif and a lam, alif noon that's added to the end of it. And anytime you have a word that has an alif noon added to the end of it, that means we call siga mubaghala. It means that it has a strong more meaning, if you will, like ultimate mercy. Like the word like ghafur, ghafara, to forgive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ghufran. right? You add an alif noon to it, meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is extremely forgiving, right? And so you have this couple of words like the word Imran, Uthman, sometimes has an alif noon at the end of it. It simplifies, like I said, emphasizing that character, like Allah's utmost in that character in terms of being forgiving. One thing I want you to learn here is, we're going back to our elementary school days, about English sentences. One thing we learn about English sentences is that you have a subject and you have something else after a subject. We call it a what? Predicate, right? I have it on the board too. I give you guys answers. It's Ramadan, so I'm kind of helping out because I want to be Rahim to you guys, right? So you have a subject and you have a predicate, right? So what is a subject? Subject is obviously person, place, or thing, car, Ahmed, house. And then predicate is something that describes it. House is big. The predicate is big, if you will, right? Ahmed is a teacher. The teacher is a predicate describing Ahmed, right? We have an example today, alhamdulillah, right? So here is that, so we have these examples here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ar-Rahman. Is that a complete sentence? No, it's not a complete sentence, right? So sometimes you find verses in the Quran are not complete. That it's, at least linguistically, it's not complete. So the khabar, we say in Arabic, or the predicate is missing. Where is that predicate? It comes next. Allama al-Quran. He taught the Quran. Now let me go back to here. So what about Ar-Rahman? He taught the Quran. Okay, good. But why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just leave the verse says Ar-Rahman and doesn't say anything after that? So, like, it's an incomplete sentence, right? Why is that done for? You have to think about poetry a little bit. You have to think about rhetoric a little bit.
It's like emphasis and eloquence.
There you go, exactly. Emphasis and eloquence, right? When Allah says Ar-Rahman, everyone's like, so what about Ar-Rahman? Like, what's going on? Right? Like, if we're saying, like, this is a bad example again, like the killer. Everyone's like, is he here? Or did they catch him? Right? Or the murderer? Like, everyone, it's suspenseful. Right? You want to know what about it, if you will. So this is how the Quran is. Remember, it came as a challenge to what? The poets, right? So you're going to have some type of linguistic beauty to it. So Ar-Rahman, everyone's like, what about Ar-Rahman? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers in the very next ayah. What? Allama al-Quran. Right? He taught the Quran. One thing I focus a lot when I do my tafsir on language. One thing, the college that I went to in Egypt, and the Azhar University, was called Islamic Studies and Arabic Language. So we did Arabic language, a lot of Arabic language. We had to study poetry every year, memorize poetry, and go over how poetry is done. And so it's kind of like embedded to me a little bit to go over language points. And also when you go over tafsir, they talk about language points. I mean, that's something that's really big in some tafsir. So here we look at it again in language-wise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Allama al-Quran. He taught the Quran. Okay. For example, if I tell you guys something that I taught Safi, what is missing from that sentence? Forget about it. Actually, that's wrong. That's wrong. Let me hear. I taught. Okay, let's go back to I taught Safi. That's fine. Go ahead. Was someone going to say something? I taught Safi. What's the issue with it? What was taught? What was taught? Right? What did you teach him? Hope you taught him something good. Right? His parents are going to be concerned. Right? So here we are. But if I say I taught the Quran, now what's the issue here? Subject, or we call object actually. Right? Object of who did you? So there's two objects here. What did you teach and who did you teach? So here, what is missing here? Who? So it says, Allama al-Quran. Allah taught the Quran. Taught the Quran to who? Who did he taught the Quran to? So here it's left open for you to obviously to study and try to find out. So what do you think is here? So there's a couple of notions here. Ar-Rahman taught Jibreel the Quran. Because Jibreel had to learn it first. And then he brought it down to who? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? Some scholars said no, taught Muhammad the Quran sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because why? Remember we said the mushrikeen was saying that someone taught the Prophet sallallahu the Quran. Another human did. So that makes much sense. Or they said the third one, which is probably the most likely, is that taught mankind the Quran. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught mankind the Quran. Now let me ask you this. Joe Smo across the street, and Sally down the block, do they know the Quran? So what do you mean that taught mankind the Quran? So that technically someone might say that's wrong. Not everyone knows the Quran. Meaning here that whoever wants to learn the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will teach it. Right? right? There's another verse in the Quran. Whoever wants to learn the Quran, Allah will make it easy for you, right? Yassir alayhi. And He will also make it easy for who wants to memorize the Quran. Right? And we know that, you all know that when you try to remember the Quran, it's kind of tough actually, right? It's a foreign language and you have to remember and stuff. But in general, Allah makes that easy for you. Obviously, it's a foreign language, anything from a foreign language is going to be quite difficult, right? But Allah makes that easy. And we all see a lot of people who are not Arab who memorize the entire Quran. So that's one point that you can bring here. Allama al-Quran, allama al-mankind, the Quran, one thing you can see. And that's another why that's probable, because the next verse after that says, خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created mankind. Okay. So like I said, the Quran is something that's amazing. Everything in terms of its verses, in terms of how it's worded, it's there for a purpose. There's some special reason for that. It's not just some random speech that someone says. So here though, I want you guys to ask yourself, what comes first? The creation of mankind or the Quran? Sorry? Quran. So if there's no mankind, who's being taught? No, we're not the angels are there, right? Right? We already know that they already obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so there's no reason to necessarily tell them about the Quran, but yeah, that's beneficial too. So here that you need mankind first, right? Because that's without mankind, there's no one to teach. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention creating mankind after He says that He taught the Quran?
To show that the Quran is an even greater act of His mercy, or an even greater manifestation of.
Awesome, beautiful. That the Quran is actually one of the greatest acts of Allah's mercy of Rahman. All this is related to Rahman, right? So that's it. Allah's mercy that He gave them the Quran, gave them guidance, and so forth. Another thing the scholars have mentioned, why does it mention خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ second? Is showing the purpose of creating mankind is to teach them this Quran, or teach them guidance, right? That's the whole purpose of them. عَلَمَ الْقُرْآنِ خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ. Basically, this is the purpose, and this is my creation here. That's why they're being created, right? That is the main essence of their creation, is for them to understand this Quran and understand the guidance in it. That's the main science, the highest type of ilm, knowledge or subject you can learn in Quran. Now that should motivate you to obviously study more Quran and study Tafsir and be more connected to the Quran. But this is the essence of our being, right? Without this, you wouldn't know how to worship, you wouldn't know what's going to happen hereafter or anything like this. But from your study of this book will mold your character and it will set you correct in this world, right? The less connection you have with it, the more you follow your desires and your own opinions and everything else like that. And so you have to be trained to read and trained to understand this book, which is hard sometimes for people to follow that. Okay. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says after that, عَلَّمَهُ الْبَيَانِ. Allah taught him bayan, which is, could we say, like expression or speech. Right? There's a couple things that are mentioned here. So why would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mention bayan for? What is so special about bayan? Right? About speech and expression. One thing is that this is what separates us apart from animals, for example. Right? Obviously, we know whales and dolphins, they have some type of communication and so forth. But there's no way they'll have advanced communication like how we have. Right? The way we could talk, the way we could articulate our speech and how we could communicate with each other. Right? This is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed with us in terms of our pronunciation of words and sounds and language. That's why they say language is something that's amazing that humans have. And if you go back to the verse, and if you guys watched that video that I released yesterday about Allah's creating us as humans, one thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after He created Adam alayhi salam, He says, عَلَّمَنَا كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him all the names of everything. Right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him the names of everything. What does it mean by the names of everything? Like, this is a book, this is a table, this is a table. Right? Not necessarily, some scholars said we're talking about that taught him the names of everything, taught him speech. How to talk and how to articulate, which is obviously one of the biggest blessings that we have. And if you think about this, it goes back to what we talked about the Quran. That Allah taught you how to pronounce this Quran when you recite it. Right? Which obviously we know that every letter that you recite, you get what? You get 10 blessings. Right? Obviously this is a big, how you articulate the Quran. And if it's hard for you to make mistakes, then you get 2 blessings of the hadith mentions, right? If it's tough for you to read the Quran and so forth. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about this is one of the main things that we have is the speech. And we know one of the big things about what the Prophet said about our speech is one of the main criteria for us whether we're going to go to Jannah or Jahannam. Right? The Prophet said in the hadith, those who control what's between his two tongues, between his two lips, and between his two thighs, his private parts, his desires he has, I will guarantee him Jannah. Right? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha wa qulu qawlan sadida. Or you have taqwa, those who believe have taqwa and say righteous words. Right? There's another hadith, I'm pouring on the hadith for you now. The other hadith of the Prophet says that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of our fasting, those who what? Can't stay away from vain speech. Right? They're still arguing, they're still insulting people, they're still, raising their voice, all these type of things, and they're fasting. Allah is not in need of someone who fasts in this manner. Right? Even though you should continue your fasting and so forth. But all of that is done with obviously the way that you articulate and what you say. That's why obviously it's a hard thing to control your speech. Next thing we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, now he turns his attention to the sun, or at least the nature that we have, right? And that is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ash-shamsu wal-qamaru bi-husban. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the sun and the moon with precise calculation. Okay, the sun and the moon with precise calculation. Let's start with grammar-wise before we move on. Grammar-wise, so the last one says sun and moon with precise calculation. What's missing here? You have a subject and you have what? Predicate. So what's missing? Subjects there. You have sun and the moon, right? One way you can look at it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says sun and moon. So I mean, for example, if I say, for example, verb.
What is this?
Well, the predicate, which could be a verb. Predicate could be a verb, could be a noun, different thing, right? That's good, right? Here will most likely be a verb. So here it says sun and moon, blank, with precise calculation. What's that verb? What's missing there? What do you think?
Created.
Created? Created with precise calculation. Okay, that's good. That's one thing you could do. I have an example here. Ahmed with great effort. Ahmed what? Ahmed worked with great effort. Ahmed studies with great effort. Right? What is there? So here, same thing. The sun and moon with precise calculation. There's a verb that's missing. So one thing is that sun and moon is created with precise calculation. The scholars said the sun and moon moves or transverse or orbits with precise calculation. So why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take out that word? The thing you learn about rhetoric, the more words less words you can say, the better your speech is. I think I mentioned this multiple times before. So if you could omit certain things, then that's better, right? For example, I say, be quiet. I don't have to say, can you be quiet? Or, Hamza, can you be quiet? If you just say the word be quiet, that's like, obviously it shows etiquette. It shows eloquency in your speech, right? All you have to say is one thing. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes out the word for you to ponder. For you to look and see like sun and moon, let me go outside and see what is it that they do, right? What is it, how do they move? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to connect you with what? Nature. And this is like an endangered species in society that we have. We're not connected to nature anymore. Everything is about our phones and TV and things that are that are made and are produced, but not nothing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created. And so one thing we say about the sun and the moon with precise calculation is that we all know that it comes up at certain times and goes down at certain times. That we could predict that when there's going to be eclipse, when there's not going to be eclipse. So of course everyone has their prayer time on their phone, when the sun's going to set, when the sun is going to rise. And they have this already ordained for the next 50, 20 years. Right? It doesn't even change. Or it does change a bit if you want. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says from this that we gave you this for you to calculate and use and for you to ponder on. I think it's very sad sometimes Muslims, we tell you guys to tell people to go outside and find the moon or find something or look at stars, and we don't even know basic constellations or basic the Big Dipper, for example, because we don't even go outside and look anymore, or at whether it's because of light pollution and different things like this, and we can't see the sky. But when you connect yourself with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's one way of you going to be closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the general rule. The more you connect yourself with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more your heart is going to become soft from that and recognize where that came from, and therefore your iman will grow. That's why I know this sounds really weird and spooky, but that's why I really urge people to have a garden in your backyard, right? Plant things, watch things grow, right? And see how that actually comes out. That's how amazing that whole process is. And eat from that. right? It's a strawberry or whatever that you're growing, right? And also to go outside and look at the sky every now and then. I tell people, for Maghrib time, take your janama, take your prayer rug, and pray in your backyard. Obviously it's not, as long as you don't have like a bunch of ants and bugs and stuff like this, or it's really cold, but it's something that's really nice, you'll see, it's different. When you pray where there's no roof above you, right? After you're done with your salah, you can say subhanallah, 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 alhamdulillah. Like that's really why you're saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah, right? You see the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So do those type of things, right? Teach your family to do that type of stuff, have connection with nature and so forth. That's why you see kids, they love to like dig in dirt and stuff, and not because they're curious and they have nothing else to do, but because they want to touch and feel earth, feel it, and they're curious, have curiosity and so forth, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the sun and the moon with precise calculations. And this relates to another verse here that we have in Surah Yasin. One thing you'll see that Surah Yasin and Surah Rahman have a lot of connection to each other. Well, why is that? They're far from each other in the Quran. One is chapter 36, one is chapter 55, but there's a lot of similar verses. So there's a verse in Surah Yasin where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالشَّمْسُ الشَّمْسُ يَنْبَغِي لَهَا أَن تُدْرِكَ الْقَمَرَ وَاللَّيْلُ سَابِقُ النَّهَارِ وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says it's not for the sun to overtake the moon, nor is it the night to outstrip the day. They float each other in an orbit, right? And we know that there's eclipse when they do intersect each other, but they're not really intersecting each other. They're quite far away when it's happening, right? They're not running into each other. But we all know that this how this precise calculations. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings these verses for us to ponder on. Right? And this is not my advice. This is your Lord that's talking to you, right? It talks about the moon and the sun. A lot of us say like, who cares about the moon and sun? Like, who cares about these type of things? Yeah, exactly. That's the issue. Who cares? That's a problem, right? That's why people are now no more spirit anymore. They have no spirituality anymore, right? Because their heart is hard because they don't think about these type of things. So don't follow that type of category. Right? Going back really quick, I'm sorry, I'm really big on this point. Like, I'm really big on astronomy. I started taking astronomy classes and stuff like this. But anyhow, one thing is that how did the Sahaba know what time of prayer was back in their time? Did they have that app? They didn't have that app, unfortunately. That would be really cool if they did that, all right? So how do they know? They had to look at the sun, right? What did the Prophet say that on the 29th of Shaban? If you can't see the moon and it's a cloudy day, then what? Complete 30 days, right? So we're talking about clouds, that you're trying to go out and look and physically look at the moon, right? This connection with you and the celestial objects in the sky, right? Having that kind of connection. So inshallah, that's something we can do. And a side note, we live here in Southern California, even though we're really far from LA, but everyone know about the Griffith Observatory, right? So they have a thing called a star party every like third Saturday. What's a star party? Like really nerdy type of term to use. So you go there to the Griffith Observatory and they have a bunch of astronomers that set up a bunch of telescopes. Humongous, crazy telescopes, some people come in more small, and they have it there free for you. You take your kids and they'll have it pointing at Jupiter, have it pointing at Mars, have it pointing at the moon, and say, look at this, look at the star, look at the planet, and which is awesome. You don't have to buy these expensive instruments, and you can just use theirs. And then you have the Griffith Observatory that you can see like that and stuff. It's all free. So parking is really crazy. Just go early and show it to all. That's one thing. And if you go to Griffith Observatory website, they'll tell you what time the star parties are. They're pretty much, I think, every third Saturday or something like that. Of course, one longer. Next ayah that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَالنَّجْمُ وَالشَّجَرُ يَسْجُدَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and the herbs and the trees alike prostrate in adoration. Now let's go back over here really quick. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the sun and the moon, with precise calculation, sorry, I said it before. The herbs and the trees prostrate. Okay. One thing is that you should be asking yourself, have you ever seen a tree prostrate before? Don't tell me those weird pictures that people send on email that show like a tree like bending over, and they say like, well, look, it's making sujood. Maybe it's true and so forth. We have that. So here, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is that herbs, or what are herbs? Here, the word najm has two meanings before we get on. Number one, we all know the word najm means what? Stars. That's one that's a common meaning of it. Stars in the sky. It's called a najm. right? Another word that the Arabs will use for najm, another meaning I should say, is like plants on the ground that don't have trunks. Like vines, like bushes, if you will. It doesn't have like a trunk of a tree, if you will. That's called najm. Okay? So use that term also. So here, if you look at the ayah, it says what? An-najmu wa shajaru yasjudan. That the najm and the trees make prostration. So if you think about it, they said that the herbs is a better translation here. Because that fits well with what? With trees. Because they're kind of like opposites. One thing you see about this surah, it's all about opposites. It's about like sun, moon, right? The herbs or small plants and then tall trees, right?
So at the same time, I was still tied to what I had before as well, because they mean stars. So it's like, it's a word that ties to the last time, but also works.
Exactly, that's what some colleagues got with that opinion, some colleagues with this opinion, right? So yeah, both meanings work. If you want to ask, if you want to say that, yeah, definitely, that's true. Right? Which is the miracle of the Quran. It's pretty nice on there, right? Well, Allah meant both meanings or one meaning, and that's, that's another thing, right? So anyhow, so you have this, you have the meaning, two different type of meanings here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that they make prostration, right? So what do they mean Allah that they make prostration? Another thing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Jumu'ah, that everything make tasbih. Everything in the heavens and the earth make tasbih, make dhikr, right? So have you ever seen like a tree make dhikr before? You ever hear it, right? What does it mean? So what do we mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that it makes prostration? Here is that we believe that everything, every created being, whether plants, animals, trees, whatever else between that, those categories, they do their own type of worship, even though we cannot perceive it, right? So people say, look at birds, like they peck, right? Like they're almost making sujood every single time they walk. I think that's a little far-fetched, but anyway, maybe that works, right? I don't know. But anyhow, they do that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned that. Everything. They make remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says here that the trees or the bushes, they make prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One thing is that here that we learn from this is that humans, like if we're not making prostration to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look, even the trees are doing it, right? I think the trees are obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They don't disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? They grow and they do their function. Right? They don't say, I don't want to grow today. They don't have these type of issues, right? So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, once again, He's pointing to what? The essence of His nature. He's creating the thing that He has created to make us connected to it, which is something, like I said, we kind of lost. That's why I said everyone should have a little home garden in your house, right? This because the Quran talks about this type of things, right? For you to see that. Even if you don't live in an apartment, you have like a patio, right? You can buy a tomato plant or something like that, right? Just water it, see how that grows, right? It's pretty awesome. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions here that what the herbs and the trees make prostration, and that they all do this in a certain way. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it in a metaphorical form, almost as how mankind makes prostration, how we make prostration in mankind. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is making a relation there also, that they also have the way of the worshiping their Lord, subhanahu wa ta'ala. Next ayah that we have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا وَوَضَعَ الْمِيزَانَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the sky, okay, He has uplifted or He has lifted up, and He has placed a mizan. He has placed a measure. So there's a couple ways that we can understand this verse here. This is focused on the sky. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He has raised up the sky. One thing to understand is that what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mean by that? That there's anything that's raised up, like this camera on this podium here, this roof that's above your head, it has to have what? It has to have pillars. It has to have like something that's holding it up. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said we have raised the sky with nothing holding it up at all. Right? If you think about planet Earth, if you zoom out, like the moon, if you will, look at it, it's just floating. There's no like thing that's holding it up, which is really interesting if you think about it. So what is actually holding up the planet? What's holding up Earth? What's holding up, the sun, Jupiter, everything? Is what scientists call it gravity. Like, what is gravity? Right? You can say that's just the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You can make it 9.82 meters squared per second or something like that. You could put a definition to that, right? The speed of gravity, right, or velocity. But is that if you think about it, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put this up in the sky with nothing holding it out there. Right? He has raised the sky, you don't see anything that's raising. It's all by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I know what you're saying. Like you're saying, like, I don't feel anything when you hear this verse. It's like big deal. I see the sky every single day, right? But that's the issue, is that we don't necessarily ponder on this and look at it in an analytical way, how great that is, right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to draw you to these type of things. We know how much we're trained not to do these type of things. Right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has raised up here the heavens without nothing that's supporting it. Awesome. Here, if you look at the linguistically in this verse here, I'm going to give you a linguistic point here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَالسَّمَاءَ رَفَعَهَا. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He has raised the heavens, or the skies, if you will. Usually when you do a verb, like I've said, I read. You might say what? I read a book. I raised up the book. I raised up my phone. But if I say my phone, I raised it. Right? Why would I say that for? If you look here, what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala do in this ayah? He puts the object first. As-sama'a rafa'aha. We raised it, if you will. Right? To show what? The emphasis on the greatness of the sky. That's heaven. That's what Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does it in a rhetorical form, to put emphasis how great an honor the sky is. And these are the heavens that we all know that He has made. Which is very interesting. At daytime it's blue in color, and at nighttime what we have, it's dark in color, right? How great that is. And obviously it's transparent, right? A little science question for you is that, you guys know why the sky is blue for? Anyone want to take a guess? And don't tell me because the oceans reflect blue light to it.
It has to do with the atmosphere and the rays of light.
It has to do with rays of light that's hitting it. Awesome, very right. The blue rays actually go through, and that's why when the sun's setting, its angle is changing. So therefore the blue goes away and what color comes through? A red and an orange comes, right? And that's how you know the sun is setting, right? And all of it's because of wavelengths of color, which is amazing if you think about it. It's just like subhanAllah, right? Like these type of things, you have to get a little nerdy. You have to study it, and then you're like, subhanAllah, like you have to say subhanAllah, right? So these type of things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is showing how great the sky is and like how it changes color and so forth, right? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said He has وَضَعَ الْمِيزَانِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed the mizan. What is the mizan here? What is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referring to in terms of this word here? There's a couple ways that the scholars have referred to this in terms of defined it. Number one, Allah has put a balance, meaning justice. He has put justice on this earth, right? And a balance in terms of when things happen, things go in a certain order, right? There's a certain balance, if you will. Then justice, talking about justice in terms of wrong and right, and how to be judged, and so forth, right? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says He's from the sky and He has a balance to it, right? We all know that there's day and there's night, and there's certain times that the sun and the moon come up. There's a balance to everything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. Meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not leave us on this earth. If the sky and the sun and the moon has a balance, how about us, right? Allah will just leave human beings and you guys do whatever you want. Like this is really how you rebuke the atheists when they say that God just created us or there's no God whatsoever. Or people say that there's God created us but then left us alone. Right? Didn't give us guidance. Like we can do whatever we want. Whatever you think good you can do. And this is a rebuttal to them saying that God created the earth, the sun comes up one time, the moon comes up at one time, and this has an order. You think human beings won't have an order? You don't think that they have an order of how to behave and how to worship and how to treat other people? Of course, right? So this is a rebuttal to them that everything has a balance to it, right? That Allah God has given us a balance, then you have to find that balance and you have to act in accordance to it, if you will, right? So this is some of the things that you could expand on this verse, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to here in terms of His nature and what He has created us, if you will. I have some of my notes here.